Hi everyone, and in the spirit of Halloween, today we're going to be writing a program to do some Halloween review sentiment analysis. So we're going to make use of the Pandas module in combination with a Vader sentiment intensity analyzer to read in this data set for costumes called costumes underscore Amazon. It's a data set of a bunch of Amazon reviews related to Halloween costumes. And what we're going to do is write a program that reads in our data, filters out the first column, this column called text that has all of the reviews stored in it, and then we're going to use the Vader lexicon to make sense of it, figuring out if these reviews are mostly positive, negative, or neutral, and we'll use F strings at the bottom of this to output those results. So to start, we're going to need a couple different modules, and don't worry if you don't already have them. If you're using the PyCharm IDE, which I am, it'll come up with a little red underscore when we try to call these, and you can hover over those to install them. So the first one we're going to need is pandas, so we're going to import pandas as PD, and then our second module that we'll want is our Vader lexicon. So from Vader sentiment dot Vader sentiment, let's import our sentiment intensity analyzer. So first we're going to want to read in our data and then filter out our text column. As that text column is the only thing containing our reviews, that's really all we care about. So let's first define our data set. Let's bring it in, and we're going to do that by calling pd.readcsv. This is a built-in module to method within Pandas that allows us to read in a CSV file. So we're going to call our CSV file by its name, costumes underscore Amazon.csv. And no worries if you don't already have this. In the description, I have a link to the Kaggle dataset that this was downloaded from. So after we read in our data, let's just print it out for now so you can see that it's imported. And if we run this, you should see all of the a nice summary of the data that's being brought in here. We have our text and our product name. We only care about this text, so now we want to go ahead and filter that out. So to filter it out, we're going to get rid of that print statement from before and define our sentences. If we wanted to, let's say, just print out the text column, we could call our dataset, and then inside it, in single quotes or double quotes, pass in the value text, which is to reference that column. We do that, and when we print it out, we get a list of all of our reviews, and we notice that we have actually 7,814 of them, and this is the only data that we care about. But we're not done yet. We're going to want to go sentence by sentence in this and detect whether or not that sentence is mostly, that review is mostly positive, negative, or neutral. So we're going to need a list for this. So we're going to create a variable called sentences, and we're going to use the list method. If we hover over our list method, we can see that this, if no argument is given, it's going to create an empty list, but we don't want it to create an empty list. We want it to create a list of our values. So inside this, we're going to pass in our dataset text column, because that's the only column we want outputted in this list. If we go so far as to print out our sentences, now we should see the content of our list here, with many sentences here that make up our list, 7,000 of them. And if we wanted to confirm that this is indeed a list, we can wrap our printout or sentences list in type command. This will give us the type, and we can see our sentences is of a class list. So we know we're doing the right thing here. So from filtering out our text column, our next step is going to involve our spectrum, our sentiment intensity analyzer. We want to first define some counts, and these counts are going to be used to count the records that are positive, negative, or zero. So we'll want to define our counts as 0, and luckily Python will allow us to do this all in one line. So let's say negative, positive, and neutral. Oh, I misspelled positive. positive. And we'll do neutral. And we'll set these equal to 0, 0, and 0. Notice how all of this is separated by columns, so we can get it all in one line. Negative would be assigned a value of 0, positive would be assigned a value of 0, and neutral would be assigned a value of 0. So this defines all our counts as zeros, and next we're going to want to initialize our sentiment intensity analyzer. So we'll say SI equals sentiment intensity analyzer, and we'll do an open and close parenthesis at the end of this, indicating that it is a method that we're going to create an object of class sentiment intensity analyzer. Next, for each sentence in our sentences, we're going to want to assign it a score. So we'll say scores equals SI dot polarity score. This will assign a polarity value for each one of our sentences, and to do that, we're going to pass in each individual sentence into this method here. Next, we're going to want to dictate whether or not the results are positive or negative. So let's create a variable called results negative first, and we're going to set that equal to the floating point value of our negative results here, and format that using our pointer for scores. And we're going to do the same for results positive, assigning that value, converting it to a float, notating that with pos, and then formatting it based on our scores pointer. Once we have those, now we can make a decision based on them, and if the results positive is greater than results negative, then we're going to want to increment our positive counter. So we'll say positive plus equals 1. Elif our results negative is greater than results positive, then we are going to want to increment our results negative plus equals 1. And if the sentence is neither positive nor negative, it's going to be neutral, so we'll call our else at the end of this block here and increment our neutral counter. Now this is where the fun begins, actually printing out our results, and so we're going to use f strings for this. So we'll indicate an f string first by calling f and then double quotes. And first let's give it a title. We'll say Halloween costume sentiment analysis, and then we'll add a new line with the /n. Underneath that, we're going to want to define some more of these, and we'll call another f string. We'll say this is Amazon costume review results, and we'll add it another line. And then underneath that line, let's start labeling our information. So we'll say positive, and then in squiggly brackets, we'll indicate our positive, the value from a positive variable, and at the end of this string, let's do a new line, and let's do the same for both our negative and our neutral. And let's hover over this end here. It says no new line at end of line. Let's reformat the file. And what this should do is run through each one of our sentences and then increment our counters based on if it's positive, negative, or neutral, and then finally output the totals right at the end. So if we run through this, it'll take a little bit, but we get our results. We have our title outputted, along with Amazon costume review results as our subtitle, and then we get the quantity of positive, negative, and neutral reviews using that Vader sentiment intensity analyzer. And from this, we can see that most of those Amazon reviews are positive. So If you're still looking for a costume, don't know if it'll get here in time, but going forward, Amazon seems to have some positive reviews associated with costumes. Have a good day.